welcome back to the channel. And today we're carrying on with C70 Quick Tips, episode number 2. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about proper exposure for your C70. So hopefully this will help you as a creator create better videos or content, or just better understand your tools. So I am by far not an expert, but I do have some experience. So hopefully this will help you out. All right, everybody. So today we're talking about proper exposure for the C70. And what is proper exposure for the C70? So Canon has put out various white papers over time and said for CLOG and CLOG 3, middle gray is expected to be at about 32% of that logarithmic curve or log curve. And for CLOG 2, it's expected to be at about 32%. So on CLOG 2, which this video is going to be focused on, CLOG 2 middle gray is expected at 32% of the log curve, which is around 390, 39 IRE, depending on the scale that you're looking at. For instance, the scale on the C70 will say 39 instead of 390. And of course, 18% gray is halfway between pure white and pure black, which is really 50%, but why they call it 18%, who knows, but probably because of the shade it is. So it's actually halfway in between pure white and pure black. So one other caveat to this video is getting proper exposure in a controlled environment like this, a studio. This isn't meant if you want to protect like highlights of shadows, like if you're outside and your exposure is going to change and where you're going to put that exposure, especially if you want to protect your shadows or your highlights. So please don't try to do proper exposure at 40 IRE or 50 IRE and expect to protect highlights or shadows if that's what you're looking for in a very bright or very dark scene. So let me just kind of get that out of the way. Now, some of the tools you can use are cheap tools like, these cards and this little flexible fold out thing, which are relatively cheap, 12, 20 bucks, until you start going up to like the X-Rite passport checker and the X-Rite color checker video. Now you're starting to get above $100 and you're getting a little bit more expensive. And of course you got built-in tools to the C70, and you got pretty expensive tools like this Canon LU858 light meter, which is fantastic, by the way. But if you just want to get proper exposure quickly and you have one of these great tools, you just give it a click. And I have my ISO set for 400 and my shutter angle for 180 and my frames per second for 23.98. I'm shooting at 400 instead of 800 because I want to crush the blacks a little bit to make sure there's no noise. So that's the reason why I'm doing that. And let's see what we get. So as you can tell, that was sitting at f2.8 for my aperture, and that's exactly where we're sitting. So that's the easy, expensive way, but let's go through these external tools and the internal tools in the C70 and see what else we can do. So stand by and let's move over. All right, everybody, so here we are over on the 18% gray target, and we're gonna go into our menus and set this up. So what we want to do is set up our waveform monitor, and we can go to our waveform settings if you want to see. Personally, I like the line or spot. You can also do line, but I like the line and spot function myself. So if you go over and look on your waveform on the right hand side, in my case, what we want to shoot for is a target of 32% gray, which is 390 IRE or 39 on this scale. So as you can see, we are pretty close there, not counting the white. Too bad we couldn't find a gray card without the white on it. But we're sitting around between 40 and 50 IRE, which is pretty good for darker skin. So this is what we want to do with our waveform. Go ahead and get our exposure correct, look at our waveform, and judge where we want to be based off that waveform. Anywhere between 40 to 60 IRE, depending on your skin type, and which, of course, whichever looks best. The lighter you are, the higher of an IRE you want. For instance, a darker skinned person may want around 40 IRE, where a light skinned person may be better off at 50, 55 IRE. So this is just a simple use case of using your waveform to get the best exposure possible. And this is just the very cheap 18% flexible gray card that you can fold up and basically put in your bag or pocket. So one of the other good tools that you can use while we're here is, of course, false color. I happen to have it turned off here, but I also happen to have it on assignable button. So let's go ahead and get out of this. So for false color, I have it on buttons 11 and 12. So for 11, I have the false color index. And for 18% gray, we want to shoot for green. And of course, for lighter skins, we want to shoot for, half a stop or a stop over, which is the peach color, our one stop over 18% gray. So I put the false color index on an assignable button, just in case I forget what color is matched to what, and it just makes it easier. And of course, this adjusts depending on what log profile you're in. So for Canon Log 2, this is the false color index. All right, so here we have false color turned on. And as you can see that the 18% gray card is completely green, which means we're pretty much exposed correctly for 18% gray. And of course, if this is a lighter skinned person, we'd want to bump that exposure up and maybe turn it into the green peach area, or maybe all peach, depending on the skin type and how it looks. All right, so here's another tool that we can use, which is the X-Rite video checker. And here you can check your waveform for the same IRE values, with the second from the top being the 18% gray. So that's what you want to try to shoot for, and maybe get your spot box on that 18% gray area of the card to make sure that you're exposed correctly. So as you can see, we're at about 40 IRE, not taking into account the chips above or below or to the side. So this is another great way to see if you're exposed. And of course, we can switch on false color. And you can see that we're getting some green there on the 18% gray. So this is properly exposed. And once again, here's our false color index, just in case you need to remind yourself what color is what. So just another great set of tools that you can use to get proper exposure in your C70. So let's go ahead and get out of this. All right, everybody. So here we are with the cheapest and one of the most easiest tools to use is a $12 set of colored cards. Now this one is supposed to be about 18% gray. There's also a black and white card included, so you can check your highlights and your shadows. So as you can see on our waveform, it looks pretty good for IRE's values of between 40 and 50, depending on the skin tone. And we can go over to false color, and it's got like a little bit of a green outline on it. So that's pretty well exposed as well. So let's go ahead and get out of this. All right, definitely another tool you can use is another X-Rite video checker, which this happens to be the smaller passport version. This version's okay for close-up shots, but in my opinion, it's a little bit harder to use for scenarios where you want to put it where the talent is. So it's just kind of small, but you can definitely, magnify things and check your exposure and your IRE value. It's just a little harder because of the multitude of colors that are shown you, but we can also turn it to the 5% gray card to get a better shot of what's going on. So let's go ahead and move to the other part of this one. So here's the other part of the smaller X-Rite video checker. And you can use this as well to gauge your exposure. But like I said, it's a little bit harder. And if we go over to false color, you can definitely, magnify your shot to see if you're getting a green outline and all that other stuff. So just another tool in your tool bag. All right, everybody. So hopefully you learned a little bit, or at least found this entertaining. And hopefully this helps you create, better content, at least learn your tools a little better. Like I said in the beginning, I'm by far no expert, but I do have some experience. And so hopefully this will help you in the future or your future endeavors of creating content. So whether your tools are, the medium, the very expensive, or the very inexpensive, or the built-in tools of the C70, they all help you get proper exposure in this fantastic cinema camera, which is the C70. So thank you, everybody, for watching and for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Have a great day or night, everybody. Happy shooting. Thank you. Bye.